afternoon and thanks for joining us on Plus TV Africa. You're watching Nigeria Decides. I am Mariana Cone.
And I am David Alabi. Now, sorting and counting of results have begun across some states in Nigeria, and we'll be bringing you updates from our correspondents in Abuja, Lagos, Maiduguri, and the rest of the country. Now, from the shooting of a lawmaker in Oyo State to armed soldiers taking over security around Kano INEC headquarters to missing INEC officials and other staff, these are some of the issues we'll be talking about this afternoon with our first set of guests. We have Debo Adenira, the chairman of CACL, that's the Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership, and we also have the executive director of the SERAP, that's Adetokunbo Momoni. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
It's good to have you join us.
You must have watched yesterday's election or participated in yesterday's election. Did you get to, any of you get to vote?
And I voted.
How was your polling?
Mr. Debo, did you vote?
I couldn't make it. You know, I couldn't wake up early enough to drive down to my polling unit.
Voting closed at 2 p.m.
Well, but
I couldn't move. There was movement was
yes, you woke up late. Oh my God.
Then I have to move from one state to the other, across the border and all that, so it's not that easy.
I can imagine. But from all the reports that you were getting, we were watching the news, of course. We were on social media, looking at your phone half the time because there were messages going up and down. What was the first thing that struck you? I'll start with you, Mr. Mumini. What was the first thing you noticed in the elections yesterday?
What I noticed was that, you see, when you experience a thing, you want to presume that your experience is what predominates all over Nigeria, but that is not true. Where I voted, you know, the Saleko people, that's where I come from, and that's where I vote. And they live in a communal spirit, even in the face of political differences. When it comes to voting, you won't see violence. Some people may want to get out of hand, but people say, this voting will go, we will still be part of this community, so what's your problem? So that person takes it cool. So I saw local camaraderie among the Saleko people, and there was no violence. It was peaceful. People were just, old people were being given chance to vote. Ladies were being given chance to vote.
Did people with disability vote in your area?
I don't see anybody with obvious disability. Yes, because there's an environment that I know so well.
He himself is disabled. He can't see well without it.
Oh no, that's good. Don't do that.
Wow, this is a situation of a pot calling a kettle black. I see that. but Mr. Debo, let's take a look at the number of people who came out to vote. It looked like there was a uniformed voter apathy across the country. How did you feel about that situation?
Even in Kano, Katsina, Kaduna, the places that have meetings.
I actually got reports from members, you know, around the country. Yes, the number of people that came out to vote yesterday were far less than those who voted during the presidential and National Assembly elections. And even then, even at the level of presidential and National Assembly elections, when you look at the proportion of those that register and those who voted, you discover that there was a near apathy.
That's 5% thereabouts.
Yeah, but the thing is that people take national election, you know, more seriously than state elections.
The question is why? Because the state elections are supposed to be more important.
There haven't been, it's like the NOA, the INEC, the political parties have not given the citizen enough dosage of training that they require, information, and so if there was voter education, they are not likely to have voter apathy. But then the political parties are making the same mistakes. They go to the same market. Okay, they should have studied the demography of those who voted in the past election and see the areas where, those who didn't vote. And some of these political parties will have gone to canvass to those community of people who didn't vote. They should identify them, persuade them to vote. That will have given more credence to their own activity, and that support will have even come and be more awesome than what we have. So, but political education is nil. You know, voter education, electoral education is different from voter education actually. So because people who need electoral education will tell you why voting is important, what the role that elections play in the democratic process, so that at the end of the day, when people are convinced that, look, it's a civic duty, it is a way that I will participate in the government of my own country and all that, they will be convinced that they needed to do it.
But even the people, I'm sorry, David, even the people who you expect to have that knowledge, people who you think are learned enough to understand the reasons why they should vote and how these people who get into positions of leadership affect their everyday life, whether they're business persons, whether they're civil servants, those are the people who really rarely show up. Yesterday, there were accounts of people playing football in different areas, in different states. In other words, they couldn't be bothered. The people who sat in their homes watching TV because they couldn't be bothered about. So again, most times, those who show up at these polling units are the average Marcus woman, are the average, average Nigerians who you think are not as learned as you are, but the learned majority never really show up. And these are the people who know, one way or the other, that these elections play a role. So what could be responsible for that nonchalant attitude towards going to the polls?
I think the bottom line to me is, what has consistent voting done in the life of average Nigerians? When the government is responsive, when the government shows accountability, when the government that you have elected is answerable to all your needs, you think, yes, I'm benefiting directly. So if you can't see that benefit, and that's the way we look at it in southern Nigeria, that is the way we look at it. When you benefit from government, you want to say whatever happens, you want to vote. A lot of what I see is that the government that we have had, at least since 1999, have not been responsive. For example, you will see that the roads are still bad. There are still no health facilities around. The education system is not too encouraging. So you now ask yourself, if I participate in this process and with more seriousness, what will it be?
Okay, now, Mumini, Mr. Mumini, let me just ask this question now. During yesterday's conversation, some of the guests that we had on the show said, well, the political elite, those and the state actors and politicians, and you name them, did not anticipate that their actions during the previous election would have this ripple effect where people would actually scare, run for their life, and just hide in their shells. All of the issues of ballot box snatching, the gory images of people killed, XYZ, has had a way more traumatic experience on the average Nigerian. So what are the lessons that these, whether they accept the blame or not, that all of these killings and thuggery and ballot box snatching are related to them or not, but what are the lessons that they should have learned this time around going forward, and the sort of engagement we should see come 2023?
You see, I believe that the problem that is the problem of our political life is that politicians have not deliberately sought to play by the rules. And that is the problem that when INEC will say sensitive materials, insensitive material will not be released until very close to the election. It's because politicians don't play by the rules.
Even at that, we still had burn-ins.
And that's what I'm saying. You see, it is politicians that refuse to play by the rules that will hire thugs, clothe them in army uniforms. It is politicians that will engage thugs to go and disrupt voting where it sees that his opponent is likely to predominate. In a situation where you play by the rules, such things don't happen. I think we have to continue to engage these politicians that whatever they do or whatever they refuse to do will have to.
But do you also allude to the fact that what our guest said yesterday, that these politicians did not anticipate that it would have gotten this bad?
That's what I'm saying. When they refuse to play by the rules, they don't know that it has effects on the people that will eventually come and vote. For example, if I see that somebody who is supposed to be contesting was just gone down, so he is supposed to have some, at least some measure of security. Now that I don't think I have such, I will want to stay somewhere and leave the space.
Now, gentlemen,
I think it's more of a problem of ideology. I talk about political education the other time because if there is a particular ideology that is governing the mind of the people, they will just want to be sure that the politicians who espouse those ideologies, come to government house after the election. But here you are, anybody can just, change guard, cross the carpet overnight, and you don't even know who the next politician is going to prefer. There are occasions when you have a performing, politician who had been earlier elected and is doing well. All of a sudden, that politician cannot gain, a ticket to contest the election. Those who believe that that politician has served them diligently well, and they believe that if given a second chance, he will do better. And such a politician was thrown overboard. Those who believe in that politician would not. They will feel dejected.
But you see, but that's inter-party politics, and that's because Nigerians don't necessarily have a say as to how parties conduct their primaries, as to who they choose. So they foist these people on us, whether we think that they're the right persons or not, because we have no say in inter-party politics. So what could be the thing that could reverse that situation? Because you see, the infighting in the APC, as we see right now, is the fact that some of them adopted direct primaries and indirect primaries, which has led to so many problems. But how do the people get to have a say? For the example you have,
I was talking about ideology. If there had been a particular ideology, then nobody in position of power will want to depart away from it. If it's a socialist ideology, you are not getting anything to yourself. As a matter of fact, there is upper ceiling on how much you can have as a person, how much property you can acquire on your own. So you are not likely to get to a position of power because of what you will gain. Personal aggrandizement and the rest of
about the people.
So it will be about the people. Now, if it is about the people, then the people will know that no matter who gets there is going to implement that agenda. Okay? Then they will see, clear divide, between one political party and the other. And they will look at the antecedent of that political party, not the person. Because they may not even mind who the political party push forward to contest that election. But they will be looking at the ideology that, we are comfortable with welfareists, we are comfortable with socialists, we are comfortable with capitalists. They will choose on their own based on that ideology. If we don't have it, then it's like a trial and error.
Well understood, Debo. Now, looking at the announcement of results collected so far, that's still ongoing in some centers across the state, and Plus TV Africa is definitely on top of all of those, and we'll be bringing you updates as they happen. But once again, we see a situation whereby the announcement process is long, tiring, unwinding. We have these numbers and numbers and numbers of political parties who are not necessarily able to have an impact, win votes.
Some have one, some have 5. And it's a long list, by the way. And
it's a long list that we are dealing with here. We looked at the presidential election, 73. That's no different from what we are having now. And it takes hours at the different collation centers to be mentioning A, B, C, ACP, AD, what. What level of change do you anticipate we have this time around to ensure that we
fast-track the process
this time around? I understand electronic voting and a whole lot more, but don't you think we should have smaller sizes of political party and then lean into what Debo said? If we have stronger structures, now we see we have 2 main opposition parties and about 3 additional. So don't think maybe we should just be looking at a number of 5 political parties in Nigeria?
You see, since the formation of political parties is, in a manner of speaking, what the law guarantees.
They don't have structure, because we look at when you have structure, you have impact.
No,
and they didn't have impact.
What I say is this. Somebody is given the responsibility to register political parties. That is INEC. There are guidelines for the registration of such political parties. Now, what I see is that most of these parties, they will merely attempt to say we met the guidelines. But, when eventually elections are conducted and somebody has five votes within a local government, or the totality of about 300 votes within a state, you now wonder whether this party has
actually have members
to be able to contest a state or national election. The truth of the matter is that I think after this election, INEC still has to go back to the bench, because I know that there are conditions for continuing to be a political party. It says you have a councillor seat, or sometimes House of Assembly seat.
That has been notified.
But are you surprised that at the end of the day we see the last-minute shift? They say, oh, these main political parties don't have ideologies. They are filled with the same stock of individuals. And last minute, at the 11th hour, you just see them running on and saying, well, we are throwing our weight behind. That's the
I think the conditions for registration of political parties should be made, stricter. I said it, maybe not on this platform, that I was talking about a national ideology, that the country as a whole should have something that we are focusing, that any government in power will have to implement. That will be about national ideology, no matter how you get there. Now, this national ideology will determine what political party are coming up with. So they must, when you are registering in your document, you must espouse an ideology you are going to implement. Now, they will not say, it will not be INEC duty to streamline it. If they are too similar, they will be advised to merge. That, look, you cannot stand alone. Then the register of membership will be submitted, and it's not going to be something that is going to be 10 per local government. Okay? If each political party should have minimum of 100 members in every local government before they could call themselves a political party, a national political party, then they should, INEC should also allow political associations, if they want to contest election, they will present the credential that will make them qualify to contest election. But they can remain non-contesting political parties, even if they want to be in a what is the no, not the word. It just remaining in just one word.
Yeah.
they can be allowed that, okay, we are just operating within a word, and they cannot contest any election outside that word if they satisfy the conditions for that. But if it is so loose the way we are having it, then we will only be coping with unwieldy, administrative process during election like this. Okay. Because that is what has been delaying the release of results, because they have to go through.
Let's talk about security now. Reports reaching Plus TV Africa, we've been able to confirm with the Oyo State Police Command saying that it has obtained first-hand information on the identity of the suspected killer of Temitope Olatoye. That's the House of Representatives member for Akinyele Federal Constituency, popularly known as Sugar, over in Oyo State during the governorship and state house of assembly elections. That was barely a few hours ago, and it was rushed to the hospital, and sadly he died later. what do you make of this situation? If such frontliners are also targets, and there was we expect that they look at even Desmond Elliott as well, pelted as well.
Pelted.
We've had situations where the president was pelted at, and a whole lot more. So if these individuals that are meant to be supposedly those protected, then where lies the masses and their security?
Safety of the average person.
And that is to tell you that those things would always influence the number of persons that will come out to vote. If people that you think are secured, in quote, could easily be gone down that way, then it leaves you that you don't have any supposed security open to any abuse. And that is so very, very important. And because it is when you have a notion that there is security everywhere, that you come out uninhibited and undisturbed to exercise your franchise.
So what must, because INEC really can't be the umpire and also do the job of the police, what can the security services, that's the state security service, I think it's now called the DSS, what can the police do? I know the police is overwhelmed, hence the bringing of the army into the scene. But we have DSS, we have, what can be done? I know that if you're a serving officer, on election day, the services of your police officers are taken from you. So
look, political assassination everywhere has always been there since the beginning of the world. Okay, no matter how tight the security system is, they will still gain it. Of course, you see Martin Luther King, you see several. Okay.
Some would still say, look at the case of Alex Bade as well.
Okay. Alex Bade, you can say, and all of that. So, normally, I mean, most of the time, when you have public exposed persons being gone down that way, you will have some, even those in security apparatus of the state getting involved in it. I said it some time ago that when the Guardian newspaper was to be bombed, we were told that the policemen that were supposed to be mounting
that were usually at that
spot were ordered to move away from that place. And before they came back, the place has been bombed.
That's where
the same thing happened to Bolaige.
Meaning that there's an insider.
So there are insider cases. So there are two levels of.
Now, when the police now says that they are having investigation, because the scene of that situation has been cordoned off now,
yes.
To what level? Because all of our conversation yesterday, Marianne and I have asked our different guests, to what level can we expect to see a logical end? The language we always hear is investigation is ongoing. Yes, some of these investigations cannot be made public, but we never hear of the findings, of the result, prosecution or not, whether justice was served.
It is the duty of those of us in the civil society organizations and the public themselves, you know, to support agitation for a tighter measure.
Do you think this individual who has been caught now and then investigations are ongoing would see justice served?
If we don't keep quiet about it, and that's why the press and the media generally should be should play the role of the fourth estate of the realm, that is being the watchdog for the public. Why we push from the civil society organizations, you will push from the media point of view, then we don't allow the matter to die. It is when the people become lethargic, you know, on the matter, that they will now have that leeway of blotting it out.
So, Kumbo, quickly, now, adding to what you've heard so far now in Ifako Ejaye, now, INEC has said it has referred 8 of its ad hoc workers to the police to explain the disappearance of zip pad memory cards in the polling unit where they were. Now, the zip pad is one of the tools used for conducting the elections as well. I'll still come back to the security of these individuals, but we are touching on investigation now. To what end exactly? You've seen INEC say, well, we are providing these officials that were present at this polling unit, interrogate them, investigate them. Do you think we'll see a logical end, or were these individuals somehow compromised?
You see, what should happen in a decent environment is once laws are set up And once the situation that the laws are supposed to govern arises, you expect the law to take its normal course, no matter who is behind the corner influencing anything. So we must keep all these things at the back of our mind so that they don't get easily brushed over. Now that they've said these are ad hoc staff, we want you to investigate them. By the time it's another 1 week, we should remind the the investigators.
And no less than 100 people as well in Imo State have also been arrested too. How do we then seem to just really forget? Because the trend has been happening. We just forget. Now we have 100 from Imo. We have tens in different states across the Federation. But we just have selective amnesia.
Or maybe it's overtaken by events. And then it's swept under the carpet.
Let me tell you the thing that I know about crime. Crimes are never caught by limitation period. When you have committed an offense, no matter how long it takes, you are supposed to answer for it.
Yeah.
So it is never to say it's too long a time.
But in Nigeria, we see that these issues never really get to a conclusive end. Most times media trials, or we just plaster it there to influence one thing or the other, and then right after that, nobody hears the last of it.
It is because Nigerians don't want the thing to be concluded. When the citizens make persistent and constant demand about the thing, something will give.
Now, this time around, when we say gunmen kill policeman in Katsina, we have NSCDC and then abducted 3 INEC ad-hoc staff. Now, we can't really ascertain how safe these individuals are within wherever they are being captured by their captors. But what do you think would be happening next? Is it... Well, some have been said to have been under duress to announce results and a whole lot more, but these are ad hoc staff, not presiding officers or high-ranking individuals.
And because they're ad hoc staff, they should be kidnapped and taken away, and we should not bother about them.
No, the question is that where lies their fate this time around? Who intervenes and how?
You see, when we leave things like this, we even make it difficult for people to say we want to assist national assignments.
Okay, well, we have our correspondent Mary Chinda on the line right now. She is at a coalition center. I think she has some information for us. Hello, Mary.
Good afternoon.
All right, Mary, where exactly are you reporting from?
I'm now at the INEC Coalition Center at Yaba in Lagos.
All right, give us a rundown of what you have gotten so far.
Okay, this is Lagos, where we have 20 local government areas, 45 candidates justly for the seat of the governorship. We have 640 candidates justly for the House of Assembly positions. We had 245 racks around. We had 8,464 polls. And of course, we know that Lagos had over 6 million voters. Now, so far, at this coalition center, coalition has started at about 10 a.m. As of now, 20 minutes afterwards, we are on the 13th local government area. That's what's been going on so far. Lagos Island was the local government that came first, where the APC polled over 31,000 votes, leading the PDP 4,346 votes. Lagos Mainland was the second, where the APC again polled over 27,000 votes, leading the PDP with 7,265 votes.
Okay. All right. How is the atmosphere? Is it calm? I could hear a lot of noise around you. Is it calm? Are we having people contest results from the different local government areas so far?
Well, just a little bit of backlog among the party agents. We just had some He's supposed to stand up for me.
Okay, Mary.
Supposed to together and all of that. But so far, everything is going on well. There's heavy security. Hello.
Yes, okay, Mary,
you.
so we'll wait. So far, you say we've had 13 local governments. They're on the 13th local government. So I'm guessing when we call you back, maybe hopefully by then we'll have the complete result tentatively.
But do you think, how soon do you think we would have that concluded, that would have the final results from the collation center in Yaba?
Okay, well, that's very optimistic. Thank you, Mary, for speaking with us. Hopefully, we'll get back to you.
You're welcome.
All right, that's our correspondent, Mary Chinda, at the Coalition Center
in Yaba.
And she said, out of 20 local governments, we've had 13 so far. And she gave very interesting statistics. So 25 candidates jostling for the governorship.
45.
45, I beg your pardon, and 600 for the House of Assembly.
640.
So she said 245 racks. 8,454 polling units. That's interesting. So hopefully, according to Mary, 2 hours, 30
I would
minutes.
also be having other reports, just 3 hours roughly. They would also have reports as well from Maiduguri and the rest of the country. We have our reporters spread across as well, and they'll be filling us with as much updates as possible as they unfold at the different collation center. But gentlemen, we're talking about security now. Beyond the attacks on the House of Rep members and INEC officials, but the targets as well in the whole heat of the way the elections were conducted, we also have some security personnel as well who lost their lives, who have been shot, and a whole lot more. Now, for example, in Akwa Ibom State, we had 1 soldier killed and 13 others injured. And this came as thugs were said to have harassed the officials at the Independent National Electoral Commission in Awa Ward 3 in Abakishat, or not local government area. I hope I didn't ruin the name there. But that's also happened there. That's one of the instances that we've had. We had a gunman kill a police person in Katsina State. And police officers who were involved in an accident.
Taking security generally, it is not ordinary citizens that can stop such killings. It is the government that will put its acts together to stop such killings. By one, curtail the importation of all of these small arms.
Proliferation?
Yeah, proliferation of small arms everywhere, because especially in places where you have had militancy, insurgency, and all of such things, then you have to limit the access of an average politician to resources. Okay, because if you allow them to traffic in currency, they will eventually import all of these arms and ammunition that we get to wrong hands. If the institutions are not strengthened to the extent that you are going to reorientate them, I mean the personnel, to ensure that they don't get immersed in all these corrupt exercises, nobody will be able to bribe them to allow illicit goods and services to get into the
aside from the money part, let's come to campaigns. We saw all kinds of incisive, sensitive, verbal, influential statements at campaigns. I'll tell you one that stood out for me. In Rivers State, the Minister for Transportation was chanting war songs. Now, this is in an election where you have no dog in that fight, apparently, because of the infighting in your political party. So the people in your party had no access to that election, but yet you were saying, we're ready. We will do this and that. And, these are things that give people an idea or a reason to take up arms, to be violent, to do whatever it takes.
It is not. It is what actually leads to violence is inadequate provisioning, for the people. If people have good education and they have good jobs at hand, and they don't have access to corruption, to what do we call it, to corrupt themselves, okay, they will not want to go into that.
Even in advanced climes like the United States, we still have cases of assassination.
We have assassination.
People are being
assassination
used.
is different from big bandage.
Political thugs are being used.
Of course, if you don't have extra cash on you, you are not going to arm thugs. Okay? Then the thug that you want to harm, if he has a good job, you cannot go out there to play a political thug because you are here. But if people are not busy, they run business that will not feed them and their family. The proceeds of which will not feed themselves and their family.
So, but that is our reality now.
That is the reality. So what we are asking the administration to do is to make corruption crimes difficult to commit by ensuring that nobody, all the instruments, all the legal instruments, institutional guidelines that are there should be implemented to the letter. That there's no amount of money that you have that you will not be able to explain. Everybody must have a bank account and bank verification number. No government agency will open an account on its own without channeling all monies into TSA. All state governments should abide by the guidelines of TSA. Then you are not going to open a bank account on behalf of government.
Well, Debo, I believe you are familiar with reports that these individuals don't necessarily have to send their money through the bank.
No, the thing is that,
and they still perpetrate whatever acts
it is because the law is not working yet to the optimal. Because if we are cynical about it, we are not going to get anywhere.
I don't think we're being cynical. We're being realistic. The reality rather is that if I am sitting there and all of these things are benefiting me, if it benefits me to leave some loopholes open so that I can get...
That is who...
No, just let me get to the point. If I leave some of these loopholes open because this is how I get to win my elections, this is how I get to run my monies through the systems, I will never get that bill passed. Neither would it become law. So again, looking at it realistically, the people that are seated there, whether in the upper chamber or the lower chamber or in the executive, will they really want to give a pass mark to some of these things or let it have a leeway pass successfully if they do not have ulterior motives? If this has benefited them.
New orientation. We are talking about new values.
But these are the people who are in government right now.
Look, you see, I talk about being cynical. You say no. Let me tell you, it doesn't mean that those people will remain in power forever. Now in Nigeria, the votes are counting.
Are they?
Different from where we are coming from.
Yes, we are making progress.
Okay? We are making progress. They have to cut the favor of the voters this time around, because if people refuse to vote, they know that they will not get to.
Yeah.
And that is why tables are turning. Okay, those who have thugs, they can't even use them effectively. Things used to be worse than this. Yes. Okay? When you look at past elections, you have several pogroms in different places that are difficult to curtail. So all of this is becoming a thing of the past. So when we get there, all of these things we are talking about will be put in place. The legislature will be disciplined to the extent that if their constituents don't send them a message, they will not deliver it on the floor of the National Assembly. And if they deliver the wrong message, they will be able to go back home. They will be ostracized because the citizenry is becoming more and more aware of their rights. Look at what happened in Kogi. If not for legislative, cumbersome encumbrances, they would have impeached, recalled a sitting senator successfully. They got it to a higher, a kind of appreciable level. So gradually, it has never happened that way before. Yes. So we are getting gradually to that level, and we are making progress. That progress is what we should hammer on. As media, please don't talk about the negative that it can be done. It can be done if we continue to make steady progress the way we are going.
Okay, now quickly, Plus TV Africa also has a package. Before we get to the results, we have a package that was the response of the acting IGP on the fact that 44 police officers were involved in an auto crash in Gwagwalada, that's the outskirts of the Federal Capital Territory. En route election duties. Now, would like to know why and how and how they fared so far.
Yeah, let's look at that report, and then when we come back, we'll be looking at some of the results that are coming in from INEC.
Because of the election, we decided to deploy our men to various polling units in different local governments, and the team was deployed to Gwagwalada area. They were going to report when they had accidents, and a lot of them got serious injuries. You can see we're in the trauma section of the National Hospital, where some of our men are admitted. I've just seen them. They have various degrees of injuries, ranging from fractures to brain, not brain injury, but head injuries that require further investigation, which I ordered that they should be taken to other facilities that have the special instrument that will scan their brains, scan the head to see that there's no brain injuries.
Now, gentlemen, you listened to that piece there from Muhammad Adamu speaking there as the Inspector General of Police. Now, he didn't give any insight as to what could have possibly been the cause of the accident. He would have interacted with those police officers. Was it a case of disrupting their journey, or it was an attack from who and where, and then investigation should go through? These are the areas you say possibly a blind eye is intentionally turned, don't you think?
Let me tell you, you don't. The way I was trained is to believe in concrete evidence. He didn't say they were attacked.
He didn't say anything about how they got the auto crash. Did they just collide by themselves?
No. You see, it could be
an accident.
It could be an accident. It could be based on overspeeding. It could be some of them are taking some other terrible substances.
That's why we say the culture of silence has to stop.
Yes,
when we have briefings from advanced clients, you hear them say, this is the what, the why, the where, the how, and
Dave.
We didn't hear anything as to what caused the crash.
I don't think that the man allowed further questioning.
Don't you think we are supposed to ask what caused the auto crash?
Exactly. That is the business of journalists that is on the ground.
That is what you need to probe into. If you ask probing questions, they will not want to avoid it, and you will not even allow them to avoid it if they want to. So it is our job to not go deeper into it. But I tell you that
Africa is ahead of that.
I tell you now, if there is no verifiable reason why anybody should want to attack them, it could be that they want to divert attention of Nigerians and security.
Did you see that guy's arm?
I'm saying that
they have fractures and a whole lot more.
I say that could be that those, because for whatever there must be an intention. What do you call it in law? You know, there are certain, you can't just do a thing. If that car, maybe somebody planted a bomb in it and it came off. The fellow who planted the bomb must have a motive. That motive could be anything.
But now, from your stance, we are now saying maybe. And for the fact that we are trying to fight fake news, every single security agent, every single institution, every single body in Nigeria should wake up and understand that there is the need to push out information if you don't want to leave room for speculation.
You have to ask for that information. You have to seek.
But there are times that you ask these questions and they say the IG is not taking any more questions right now.
You see, there are journalists when the man was speaking. A journalist should have said, what do you think was the cause of the accident?
And they say, well, we're still investigating and we'll get back to you.
You will still get back to him, because that is, you see, when they give you one liner and you leave it like that, that means you are not doing your duty as a journalist.
My sister, don't toe that line. Even in journalism.
Of course, there will be more. No, nobody's saying that this is the end of the investigation. Of course, questions will continue.
Exactly. So what we need to do is that we need to probe any time he made that statement, there must be a cause before you have effect. What you see is the effect. What is the cause? He should investigate it. If he has not, but he saw the vehicle, somebody saw the vehicle plunged. Was the tire off? What role has FRSC played on this? Is there any suspicion of sabotage?
Exactly.
If there is sabotage, what's the motive behind that sabotage?
These are questions
and all of that journalists also have raised.
Exactly.
But we would not know if that question was asked until when you have full tape of that presentation. Then, if any gap is identified, then you will now ask Mr. Acting IG, please fill this gap.
Fill this gap for us.
Because he will also know that it's essential to the sustenance of his own job.
In doing due diligence, our security operatives, our bodies, organizations should also be willing to come clear. You don't need to be asked before you decide.
You don't assume that I am a teacher.
Instead, don't then announce that 44 were involved in this crash and they've wounded and XYZ without saying why.
I am a teacher. Unless you have given a guideline for an exam, you don't assume that the students know what you want to ask next. Okay? There must be a guideline. If there is a guideline for presentation of IGPs, that anytime you are presenting, for example, in journalists, you talk about 4Ws and IH, then if he has not satisfied them, you will now say, okay, you have told us why, what, when, why, and how. You have not said how. Okay? What led to what? Another question will still satisfy those conditions.
All right, we have somebody on the line from Ibadan. She's calling us based on anonymity.
Security, yes,
she's not going to give us her name, but she wants to tell us, give us an eyewitness report of what happened in Ibadan as to how many people showed up, if there was any voting in that area. Hello, it's good to have you join us on Plus TV. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Tell us exactly where you voted and what you saw.
I voted at Egbeda local government. Egbeda was won in Oyo State, to be precise. Like, the election was actually free and fair, violence-free. Everybody came out, and in my own polling unit, it was free and fair. Like, we all voted. There was no violence, nothing of such in my own polling unit.
Interesting, but what did you hear of any skirmishes anywhere else? Did the voters, the INEC officials come out early enough to your polling units?
Yeah, they came out early enough. Even the compounds, the materials and all, they were available early enough. Like, because practically everybody was actually prepared to vote and all. So they came out very early enough.
Okay, now quickly brief us. Can you share with us any information from the collation center over there in Oyo State? The results so far announced.
Sorry, say that again, please.
Do you have any idea what's happening at the collation center in Ibadan? Do you know if results have started reeling?
My radio set now, and I think they've collected about 16 local government now. Yes.
So far. Just so we know, how many local governments are in Oyo State?
We have 33 local governments in Oyo State. 33.
So far you've had about 15 results announced?
Yeah, 16 announced by Fresh FM, because I was listening to Fresh FM.
Okay. Well, we will get back to you, hopefully, maybe before the day is over, to find out if the results are finally all collated, and then we'll get to hear the final results from you, if you don't mind.
No problem. I'll be expecting the call.
Thank you very much for calling. We appreciate it. All right, so coalition is going on
in Oyo State. And I would like to just quickly share with you some results that we've gotten so far from Ikorodu local government area. That's for the governorship results. We had the ADP polling 620 votes, while the APC scored higher with 45,879, and the PDP tagged along with 14,769. In other areas such as Ikeja local government area as well, APC had 28,592 votes, while the ADP had 143 votes, and the PDP also polled in 8,109 votes.
I think you should go on.
Yeah, Amuwo Odofin as well, local government area. That's the governorship election results as well. ADP had 184 votes. APC polled 23,267 votes, while the PDP had 13,700 votes. And also looking at results from Shomolu as well, ADP polled 203 votes, APC 40,408, and we also have the PDP scoring 9,991.
Okay, in Apapa local government area, ADP 53 votes, APC had 20,469, and the PDP had 5,959. In Agege local government area, the ADP polled 86 votes, the APC 38,515 votes, and the PDP 8,371. In Ibeji, is it Ibeji or Ibejuleki? Ibejuleki. I guess the ADP had 143 votes, the APC 23,298, and the PDP had 3,320 votes. In Etiosa local government area, the ADP polled 286 votes, the APC 30,504 votes, while the PDP had 10,678.
Okay, there. So those are some of the results that we've had so far, and hopefully when they finish with the total announcement, we can be able to make a stronger conclusion and say, well, Party A or Party B won successfully.
Yes.
Well, so far now, in the presentation of these results, do you think there'll be counter arguments as usual, as we've seen from all of the margins so far? We know the APC is taking the lead, but do you think we'll still have counter arguments from the PDP?
Well, not like it is already given in our political environment. Whoever loses an election will have something to say, and whoever wins will also say, I have worked for it. So let's leave everything to the end of the summation, because we have already seen a pattern. By the time somebody is said to have, a party said to have won about 20,000 votes, and the closest party is having 9,000 votes, you should know where the pendulum is going. When it has occurred in about 4 or 5 local governments, you know that.
During the announcement of the Presidential and National Assembly results, Osita Chidoka of the PDP raised a situation. He said, well, I accept whatever results you have presented so far. I acknowledge that the elections were fraught with irregularities, but I implore INEC to please release details of the card readers. Now, some would say whether or not the PDP or the ADP or whatever party would have pulled in a stronger figure from whatever they have announced, but do you think they would also call for that again, for the release of those details, and do you think INEC would follow through?
I don't think it's where INEC should do its own bit, but it's not the duty of INEC to release to political party. They have to approach the tribunal.
So if there is a subpoena, would that happen?
Yes, it will happen. They will do it. But then the pattern of result, when you look at demography, it means that the playing up of ethnic and religious politics has been wiped out, you know, to the extent that places where they thought that some tribe are more predominant and all that, it's no longer showing the pattern, and that some tribe, you know, have adopted one political party. Even the political party that they adopted have not.
Okay, quickly, David. Now, right on our screen, we have the results from Amuwo Odofin and the total registered voters from that area we had 312,450, and total valid votes just barely 37,780. The number of rejected votes 745, and the votes cast of 38,434. So doing a comparison now, the number of votes that were valid compared to those who actually registered is just poor. If Amuwo Dofin is to replicate all across the different states that conducted the election, apart from those within the off-season and then possibly the State House of Assembly elections, generally, what would you score the percentage so far? 20, 18%? The last one was 18%. Do you think we will see 15, 12% or 20?
From the total number of those who collected PVC, and from the number of the votes that we say are the total votes cast in Amuwo Dofin, you know that it's below what we had in the presidential election. So it goes down to say people who didn't come out to vote our party.
But okay, well, looking at from 2000 and let's just say from 1999, when we decided to go full force democracy, from 2009 to 2011 to 2013 to all the way down, there's been a retrogression of sorts. We see a pattern of the fall in the number of people who come out to vote. And it seems like 2019 has been worse hit in this whole trend. And one would really wonder, we're supposed to be growing in leaps and bounds when it comes to democracy. We're supposed to be progressing, not retrogressing, but the reverse is the case.
Well,
should we really be celebrating our democracy or retweaking it?
I think it's going to be the duty of political scientists and sociologists to do the analysis clearly, to know what is the thinking pattern of an average Nigerian on the politics. Like I was saying the other time, that there should be political education. You know, political education that is lacking doesn't expose people into why they have to vote. Maybe they feel that, well, I don't mind anybody since there's no ideology, like I said the other time, that anybody can become the president, anybody can become the governor, anybody can become anything, because they do the same thing. They don't espouse something different. It's the same thing everybody is saying. There's supposed to be a minimal agenda, and that's why I say it should be guided by national ideology. That, look, if you are in power, it doesn't matter what your political espouses in his manifestos and you must provide free education, free healthcare services. There must be right to food, right to work, you know, and so on and so forth. So if that is contained in our constitution, then people will now look at each political party and see their manifesto. They will not match it with the minimum agenda. They will not say that, no, if we don't go the way of this political party, then another political party will get there and implement things differently from the way it is. So they know that this is the strategy of achieving all of these that suits the purpose of the majority of the people. Then they want to go out and vote. Okay.
Now let's also take the case of Ondo South, where supplementary elections were also conducted, and we have reports that INEC has declared Nicholas Tofomo of the People's Democratic winner of that supplementary election conducted there. Initially it was inconclusive and they had a rerun, and that was the result now. Do you expect that everybody within that area is supposed to just take the results and go, and there's no need for the unnecessary back and forth?
No, what I see is that, you see, there is a process. Voting has taken place now.
Yes. Result has been
declared. So if you have anything against the result, no other person can do it to your side except the tribunal. So go to the tribunal and let's have it a whole process. That's what I say.
All right, gentlemen, we have to wrap things up here because we have more conversation on Nigeria Decides. We want to say thank you to Debo Adeniran, Executive He's the Executive Chairman of Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership, and Adeto Kumbo Mumuni of SERAP. We've had an interesting conversation.
Hopefully we take cues from here, and 2023 we wouldn't be having the same conversation.
And why INEC hasn't showed up early, and why we're still
actually the conversation is loaded, and so many issues were discussed, you know, so maybe we need to dig deeper into it so that we'll be able to bring out the facts and figures.
All right. We'll be back right after this break. Stay with us.